if we just start with a little bit, like what's your running background?
I started running about 3 or 4 years ago at Orange Theory Fitness, which is like a gym over in Clearview, and they do like a mixture of treadmill, rowing, and like floor exercises. And pretty much every class you do about 25 to 30 minutes on the treadmill. And I just started with that, and then I started like challenging myself more through the classes, and really ended up enjoying running.
Okay. So you originally didn't set out to get into running because Orange Theory is not just running, is it? It's a
No,
bunch of
it's
stuff.
not. It's a mixture of everything, like hit training, but I think when I started running there, then I started enjoying running outside a bit more. And yeah, before that, I hated running.
Oh, really? Okay. So tell me
Yeah,
more
I
about
was
that. What was your experience of running before that?
very, very basic, like running here and there, probably when I was feeling guilty for eating too much or something, and not a whole lot. Didn't really know anyone like in running clubs or running groups or anything, and would just sort of maybe put some headphones on and go for a run around the block, and that'd be it.
Yeah, that was me until I sort of took up running. I loved soccer, well, football,
Yeah,
and I would run to train to get fit, and I hated every second of it, like every second of
yeah,
it. I had to slow
yeah.
down. I don't know about you, but I was just running too fast all the time.
Yeah, I just really didn't like it at all. I just didn't really play any sports that I thought running was good, and sort of go to like the big boxy gyms and lift weights, and that would be about it. I'd always walk past the treadmills and just laugh at them.
But I mean, that's changed, right? So you're involved with the Red Deer Run Collective Run Club now,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So can you tell me a bit about them? Like, how did you get involved with them, and what is it, and what do you guys do?
Um, so through Orange Theory, I started doing like obstacle course races, like Spartan races, and there's a company called X Warrior from Calgary. And obviously, with the obstacle course races, like 80% of it's running, and the rest is like jumping over obstacles or overcoming obstacles. And so I realized I was really enjoying that, and I needed to start training running. And I heard about Run Collective through a few friends, and I've probably been going for about 2.5 years now with Run Collective on Thursday nights. And yeah, about a year ago, I think September last year, I actually joined on as a coach.
Oh, cool. Okay. And how did that come about? You going from just being a participant to being more of a coach and an organizer?
I just lost you a little bit at the end there, but I think like I was going Run Collective consistently through the winter, and then I was one of the people that was showing up a lot. And I think the girls asked me to join on as a coach to try and get more of a male presence at the group, and sort of to bring a different scene of local people to Run Collective. Obviously, I had a lot of people I was training like OCR with, and
Hmm.
trying to get some new faces and stuff down there.
And did you have like an OCR club, or was it just friends?
Yeah, so there is a Wednesday night group called Red Deer OCR, and that's run
Oh,
by
yeah, yeah.
just one local fella right now, Trevor, and he does a really good job. And they're out there all summer and all winter, and they do their OCR workouts. They do running. They do a lot of like obstacle stuff on like local playgrounds, and you'll see them like running up and down Rotary Hill with sandbags and buckets and all sorts of stuff.
So you're still doing that?
I will be honest, I haven't been the most participating person with that group lately. I've missed a lot of their workouts, but probably just because OCR sort of like got kicked out this year, like there was no
Hmm.
races or anything. So I sort of just focused on my own strength training and a bit of running stuff.
And you were saying you do the functional fitness as well, is that right?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm doing F45 probably about 6 days a week, and it's the same sort of thing as Orange Theory minus the running on the treadmills. There's no treadmills. So it's all like functional strength training and very hit training based. It's very fast and active, and it gets your heart rate up. Like you never walk out of that place feeling like you haven't accomplished something.
Yeah, so you got a pretty well-rounded training routine right now by the sounds of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And so getting back to the run club, like what was your experience of sort of joining, as a I remember the first time I went to a run club, I was quite nervous. How did you feel? How did it go? And what were you doing there? What did it consist of?
Yeah, the first one I went to was actually a stair workout, and it was at Mascua Platoon Park. and we sort of did like a little maybe 1.5K warm up to the top of the stairs. And then one of the run coaches said, all right, we're going to do like 10 to 12 stair repeats. And I thought, all right, this is awesome challenge. I think I'm capable of doing it. And you go up and down the stairs a bunch of times and everyone sort of says like, good work to you, or well done on the way past, and keep going. And I just felt they were very encouraging and welcoming. And yeah, I sort of stuck with them from there, but that was my first workout with them, and I felt they were very welcoming. So that's probably why I went back.
Yeah. So you weren't too nervous, and it sounds like it was just a bit it was sort of encouraging to get involved with other people. Do you how many people do you get usually for the Run Collective specifically at your club?
Yeah, so I would say that on average between 15 and maybe 20. During the summer months when the weather was nice, there was definitely like a couple of workouts where there was probably 35, 40. And then obviously when it cools down a little bit in winter, you might get down to like 10 or 8 people sort of thing. But yeah, this year has definitely been one of the bigger years. Some of our workouts in the middle of summer I think there was one from Troubled Monk where I counted 40 people.
Yes, I saw the photos from that. I missed it. As you know, I have trouble getting out of work early enough to come and join you
Yeah.
guys, which is something I plan to take up with my boss. If you're watching this, Mel. um, so at the minute you're training with the Run Collective, right? So you're running the workouts, and how many times a week do you have like a run club workout?
Yeah, so Run Collective just runs the one night a week at the moment. It's a Thursday night at 6 o'clock. There used to be a second run on a Sunday morning, and it would be more of like a slower, longer distance run. But we found during winter, not many people would rock up if it was cold, and you'd pretty much have like the three coaches would show up and no one else. And then in
Right.
summer, we were finding on Sundays, a lot of people would be going away camping and stuff. So at the moment, it's just the one night a week. But
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I'm not sure. We've definitely had a lot of interest. Like even the girls the other night were asking about a second day, maybe a Saturday or Sunday morning. And yeah, so long as people show up in winter when it's colder, the coaches don't mind going out there.
And when you've done weekend workouts and stuff, do you have different types of runs for different nights? Do you always do stairs? Do you always do a bit of interval training? Are there some like longer, slower runs? Like, how do you guys structure that?
Yeah, so the Thursday nights range from anywhere from what we call a distance run, which could be like a 3K, anywhere up to a 12K. And then we do stair training, hill training, track workouts like for intervals, anything like that. We try to mix it up. We have like a Google spreadsheet where each of us fills in a line every 3 weeks and we take turns. And yeah, we try not to
Okay.
make every workout technically like a workout. We want people to enjoy it as well. So sometimes we do like the longer, slow group runs. And yeah,
Yeah.
recently we've been trying to get a lot more involved with some of the local like breweries and stuff, and having like one run a month starting and ending at a brewery, and then everyone can get together after and sort of meet other people and like-minded people who want to run. And then you see people like exchanging phone numbers or adding each other on Strava, and all of a sudden all our members are outside Run Club. It's really cool.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's like I've run a little bit with the running room since I got to Red Deer, but I had similar scheduling issues and couldn't do it regularly. Same as I've had with you guys, that just because I'm a physio, like we often work in the evenings. So um but back when I was in Ottawa, I used to run with a run club regularly, and I found that was the best thing about them for me was I made some friends through there who ran, and like I don't know. How old are you, Matthew?
31 in 2 weeks.
Right. So yeah, similar
Yeah.
to me, right? Well, I'm a bit older than you, but like in your 30s, especially like I just moved to Red Deer in a new town, it's kind of like how do you make friends? You know, you've got your people you work with, and that's about it, really. So it's like if you're into running and triathlon, joining a club really is your only way to make friends. It's not like, joining a hockey team or an Aussie rules football team, right? Where you're gonna automatically have friends. Like first few years of running, I ran on my own all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So what is it that you like about the run club? What sort of brings you back regularly?
I think the accountability of like the reason I started going was I knew that every Thursday night these people would be there no matter what, whether it was raining, 30 degrees, -30, the same group would always be there during the week. And for me, if I come home from work late and I'm tired, it's easy to just be like, oh, I don't want to run tonight or whatever,
Hmm.
make up excuses. So I think the accountability of the group running every week, and now that there's three coaches on, you can do like a shorter distance, a medium distance, a longer distance. You can push a little bit faster. You can just come for a casual run. There's a lot more variance in what we can do with three people running the groups. And yeah, I just like the fact that every week you can show up and go and run with these people and then go home and you always feel better after a run. That's like
Hmm.
everybody knows the hardest part is just getting to the run. Once you're there, it's easy.
And it gets harder in the winter, definitely, as it gets colder.
Yep.
And like, I mean, I think you work quite early, don't you? So you start early. It's not really feasible to run before work, but then after work, you're kind of knackered and it's cold. So it really helps to have that reason to get out, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what if you're like some people watching and listening to this are going to be, just getting into running, maybe doing couch to 5Ks or just doing little bits of running in with their walking, like really just getting started, a total newbie. You know, is it a good place for someone like that to attend, or is it going to be a little bit too intense for them, a bit too hard?
I definitely encourage. I definitely love seeing new people come. Like I get more out of being a coach and seeing someone who is not a confident runner or can't run more than a kilometer without taking a break, and seeing them do something good rather than your person who can run 10K every night and you know they're going to do it either way. So I definitely think so. The way we've tried to structure it this year with the three coaches is that you'll have different, say, distances or paces, and one coach will be designated to each group. And what we like to do at the start of Run Club is we go around, introduce ourselves, and then before we leave, we get everyone to sort of tell us which distance they're going to do. And that way, the coach who's going for that distance can keep an eye on who's going. And yeah, it's not too often that we get someone who picks the 3 kilometer option. A lot of people, like even the sort of more beginner runners, are still going for the 5K, and it's really
Mm.
encouraging. So anyone who thinks that they can't come and do a 3 kilometer or they're not capable of it, there will be so many people there to like encourage you and stick with you. And yeah, in winter we sort of stick more of as a group because it gets darker early, so you'll always
Hmm.
have someone to run with. Especially on some of the red deer trails, we're not going to leave you alone.
And I think, do you put sort of one coach at the front and one at the back kind of thing, so you always kind of know where everybody is?
Yeah, so most of the structured runs, if there's like a 3K option or 12K option, they'll either be an out and back or a loop. And the 12K leader will sort of lead the 12Ks and they'll be the front runner. And then the 3K will be like rounding up the pack. And sometimes what we'll do is if we have 3 people, it's obviously have to account for everyone. So the back coach will sort of keep check the 3K people until they're okay and they're going to loop back. And then they'll continue on with like say the middle range group, like the
Hmm.
5Ks. And yeah, we've had a really good group this year. Like we've had a couple of people who have started at pretty small distances and now they're up to like 5, 6K. And yeah, you can just see a lot of people's confidence and showing up at like the couple of races that there's been in Red Deer. It's awesome to see
Hmm.
people like crushing 5 and 10K races.
Yeah, so it's like a mixture. You get that accountability, right? You've got to be there because you've committed
Yep.
to it, and there's other people going to be there who are going to kind of be looking forward to seeing you. But then you've also got a little bit. It sounds a bit like especially if you're a newbie, a bit of a push, right? A bit of a push to sort of, okay, yeah, I can do this. Let's see if I can do the faster group or the next distance. Do you know what I mean? So you can go as slow as you want, but there's that little bit of encouragement there to push your limits a little. Do you guys charge like fees? Is a volunteer club? Do you have to pay? How does that stuff work?
No, it's all voluntary. So the way it started was It's a Lululemon group, and it was started by Lululemon invited one of the run coaches, Melissa, to see if she wanted to be like a local leader for their run group. Same as what Calgary has, like YYC Crew, and then Edmonton. God, I forget what their name is, but same sort of scenario. So Lulu started it out as like a one night a week with a couple of group leaders, and Tracy,
Mm-hmm.
the other run coach, was actually working at Lulu at the time. And yeah, it just started out as a one night a week free thing. Doesn't cost anything. There's no commitments at all. We see people that'll come like maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and then we see people that'll come every single week.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So you guys,
it's really exciting.
as coaches, you're kind of volunteering your time, and it's all done for the good of the group, kind of thing.
Yep, it definitely is. Yeah, so it's
Uh,
free, and the the enjoyment we get out of it is like seeing everyone every week. Like, yeah, we don't need to get paid. We just want to get people together and run and see what they can do at like local races and stuff.
And Lululemon still involved with your group, or is it you on your own now?
I'm not sure how to answer that. It's sort of changing around a little bit. It's sort of like a bit of a soft sponsor. Like we have the Lululemon shirts like that with the logo on it.
Oh yeah.
And each year they sort of have a meeting and talk about what Lululemon's involvement be and stuff. But um, sort of, I'm not sure the right answer for that. That would be something that the girls and the store managers need to talk about.
But for you, it's just about, you've got your group that come and you want to get more people and you want to get out running, but it's not so much about a particular sponsor or
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
like that. That's
definitely.
not the
Yep,
purpose. And then
yep.
what if say you're training for a race or something? Do you guys sort of plan training programs for people, or is it more like, we're going to do a workout, this is what it's going to be, you can come along and join in, and do you know what I mean? So if you have like for
Yeah.
yourself, your own structured training plan, how do you sort of, how do runners who are on a training plan kind of, and they want to run with other people, maybe in a club, how might they approach that?
Yeah, we don't necessarily create like training plans for anyone. We're definitely open to talking to people and suggesting things.
Hmm.
What we do is we have like a lot of us coaches and the people, we run all the local races. So as we're coming
Hmm.
up to like say 2 weeks out from a half marathon, we definitely encourage more of the longer distances, even like a 12K, like on a Thursday night. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to be running a half marathon on a Thursday after work. Um, in January, we did an Warrior race at Riverbend around the cross country ski trails. And you'll find when we know that there's races like that coming up, we'll put a few more runs in, like at Riverbend or
All right,
even
okay.
around Heritage Ranch, like on the snowpack path, to
Mm-hmm.
get people used to running like on something that's not the footpath or running laps of the track.
So you
So
do try
yeah,
and
not
sort of,
specific.
sorry, I was just going to say, you do try and when there's a races coming up locally, you sort of bear that in mind, but it's not
Yeah,
like
definitely.
formal training plans for them.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm more than happy to help anyone sort of come up with a training plan if they had a goal race like Red Deer Marathon or anything like that. It's kind of an odd year to plan what what
Yeah.
you want to train for. So um honestly, the people who are coming, like I said, you'll see the people who thought they could only do like a 3 or a 5 are now running sort of an 8, and then the next level people are crushing 10s. And on the weekend, we just had that Run Red Deer series where a lot of the members took on the half marathon.
Right.
And I think we had 7 people between like an hour 32 and an hour 45, which for a half marathon coming into winter is
Yeah.
pretty
Wow.
pretty
That's
decent.
that is pretty decent. Wow.
And these people aren't anything special. They're just consistent runners. Like they just keep showing up every week, and the training's paying off.
So did you do that run at the weekend?
Yeah, I did. I do not like half marathon distance at all, and I did do it.
So
I actually
was
got
that
talked into by the other members to do it.
your first half marathon or?
Uh, not specifically. I've done a few of like the running room events. They're like hyper half marathon,
Mm,
and just not my sort of distance for just a run. I'd rather do like a fast 5 or 10K or I'd rather do 50K up and down the mountains. I'm not really
All
that
right, okay.
pushed really hard for an hour and a half. So that was really challenging for me to sort of keep like a good pace for an hour and a half without like throwing in an obstacle or running down a mountain or something. Because normally you sort of break it up, like you do a lot of uphill or a lot of downhill, or you jump on some monkey bars or something for a bit. So yeah, it was really good. It
So,
was a really good red deer race.
yeah. So what's the difference for you with those longer ones, like the long trail runs? How come you're okay with that, but the half is not for you? Do you know what I mean? What's
Um,
keeping you entertained on the trail, I guess?
I think I just found more of a enjoyment out of like trail running and running in the mountains, so I can sort of put
Mm,
up with it for longer. Running on the footpath for like 10K or 15K at like a faster speed, it's more consuming on my body. And yeah, I just really got into like trail running and the challenge of like being out there for like 6 or 12 hours. And yeah, really getting into ultra running right now, sort
mm.
of with no OCR on, just going and spending the day in camel and going up and down the mountains. It's super fun.
Have you been doing that even since the snow came?
Yeah, I did a fair bit of running in camel this year and really enjoy it. Lots of people out there, everyone's super friendly. It's like I tell people that if you see someone on the mountains, everyone says hello to you and they smile and it's a good atmosphere. If you look at someone the wrong way in Walmart, it's like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you looking at me, sort of thing. And yeah, it's just sort of like a getaway thing.
Yeah, cool. And speaking of your running, so have you been working on your technique? Because we had for those people watching or listening, we did have you in for a technique screen and
Yeah, I was
identified some
definitely
things to
thinking
work
about it
on.
during the half marathon. I definitely was, and I did check my Strava. I think it came up as 171 average. So I
All
was
right,
definitely
okay.
thinking about it. And yeah, and it's kind of funny. I didn't feel injured or nothing. I didn't get any knee pain, nothing like that. It's probably the best I felt after a 20K run.
That's interesting. And just
Yeah.
for reference, for those who don't know, the 171 you're referencing there, that's your cadence, right? The number of steps you're taking each minute. So I presume that you got that off your Garmin or some sort of tracking
Yeah,
app or
that's what my
something.
Strava showed. I just looked at it quickly after just to compare. I was thinking a little bit, I was trying to keep that like 4:30, 4:40 pace. And when it was getting harder, I was thinking that I was probably starting to overstride, trying to keep that pace up. But yeah, according to my Strava, I did not bad.
Right, that's good. Yeah, and definitely
Yeah.
technique breaks down with fatigue. That's to be expected. What we want it with the technique, we want it to be as good as it can be for as long as it can be, and we expect by the end of the race, it's not going to be as good as at the start of the race. That's just kind of the way it goes. With you were saying you use Strava or something like that. So, if again for the newbies who might be coming to a run club, do they need stuff like that? You know, do they need some kind of way to track? Do they need a running watch? Do they need a specific app for their phone? You mentioned Strava there, which is a running app. Anything like that, or should they just kind of show up and get going?
No, they definitely don't. I find that everyone gets like addicted to it though. Like I find when people do come and they start running, they want to know what they've achieved. Like they want that like self, like I don't know what you would call it, but they want to know how good they've done. Like they want to see that they can slowly create goals and catch them and crush them and then move on to the next one. So I mean, there is probably 30 different running apps you can get on your phone. There's probably 50 different smartwatches you can get that track GPS and stuff like that. Like it is so common, and you can spend like $120 on a watch. You can spend $1,000 on a watch. It doesn't really matter. But I find that that's a personal thing. The more people enjoy running, the more they want to know about how they're doing, and they want to track their own stuff. So yeah, there are some people with really fancy watches, and there's some people who just carry their phone around and listen to music, and then you'll see that they know what they did, which is pretty
Mm.
like satisfying at the end when you've done something that's harder than you thought, and you can be like, hey, I did it, do it again next week.
Yeah, I know. Everybody, like you said, everybody's different. Personally, I do find like tracking helps me stay consistent. It's encouraging to me, right? To Because I want to
Yep.
do better than I did last week. I want to do more volume than I did the month before, and so on and so forth. But you know, it's what you don't want when it's people just getting into running is to feel like you don't know what you know you don't have any idea or any of the gear, right? You know, you show up and everyone's sort of tapping on their watches and stuff, and you're like, oh, I don't have that,
Yep.
and you feel a bit like, you know, out of place. But I think I would agree with you that it's not necessary to start with, and
No, not at all.
you don't want to create more barriers. And I guess that's another question again for people just getting into running. Are there specific gear that they need? I mean, we mentioned they don't really need a tracking app or a GPS watch, but there are options if they want to. Do they need anything else specifically? Can they show up in basketball shorts? What should they do?
No, like clothing is all about how the person feels. Like if you want to wear leggings or pants and keep yourself warm, gloves, mitts, whatever, that's all personal. The one advice I have is a lot of people overheat in winter. Like they get out of their vehicle with the heater on, they get cold all of a sudden. They put on these big jackets, these big mitts and toques, and then 10 minutes into the run, you see they're like stripping it off. And once their body temperature sort of catches up, um, my advice would be lots of thin layers. So if you are going to take them off, that you're not carrying these huge, big things around. Same goes for like in winter when it's icy. You can go to like the running room or any of like Amazon and buy like clip-on spikes that you can put onto your regular running shoes, and they can definitely help with traction, but they won't save you all the time. It's like winter tires; they're only so good to a point. You can go and buy like more fancy studded winter running shoes if you're really getting into it, but I've I've ran in regular Asics before and I find it fine. And if it is icy, no one's running super fast anyway. So
Mm.
we definitely try to avoid icy footpaths in the winter for sure. Definitely try and find like soft pack trails or somewhere where we're not going to like have everyone slipping over every 2 minutes.
Yeah, and winter running is that's the thing, isn't it? Because a lot of people in Canada stop in the winter. They try and run indoors for a bit, but everybody knows that indoor running sucks, so they stop after a while. And then you got like half the year you're not running. But I mean, we're
Yeah.
not from Canada, right? We run in the winter. You're from Australia, where it doesn't get like below zero ever, does it? So
Not really. But like I tell everyone, it's a different type of cold. Doesn't have to be negative to be cold.
oh, really? So it gets cold? You're from Melbourne, right?
Yeah. So I would say if it's under 10 degrees and it's raining and there's a cool breeze, it's cold. It's very
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah, it's not really just the temperature, is it? Because I've noticed here,
No.
like today, I didn't go a run because of the wind. The wind is just horrible. It makes it
Yeah.
feel so much worse, even though it doesn't necessarily make you that much colder because you put your layers on, but it's just so unpleasant. And sometimes it can be
Yeah.
minus 20 or 30, and it's sunny and calm, and it doesn't feel too bad as long as you've got enough clothing on, you know?
Yeah.
I actually have on. I wrote a blog a couple of years ago, and because I'd been writing it down, and I took all the temperatures and conditions and what clothing I need to wear for each one. Because, like you said, with stripping things off, it's so irritating when you to try
Yeah.
and find the right clothing for the right weather as the temperature sort of plummets over the next few weeks is very tricky.
Yeah, I have tons of different jackets of all different thicknesses and layers and like in like double layered things, and I'm the same. I just play around with them, wear them in different conditions and try and figure out which is the best. But the results that I've had is lots of thin, like long sleeve
Hmm.
layers and thin windbreakers and stuff. Going back to like the winter running sort of talk, I found over the last couple of years with our group, you'll get a lot of newbies coming just before winter who say, we want to run with your group so that we can stay accountable during winter. And
Hmm.
then it's those sort of people who stay and stick around all winter that when the sort of the early year races start, those are the people who are already like crushing the races while everyone else is still starting to get going. So yeah, it's definitely good to keep your running up during winter and keep a strong cardio like aerobic base, because yeah, I remember we did the X Warrior run at Riverbend this year, and it was like a 8 kilometer loop up and down the cross country ski trails, and I helped sort of coordinate the course and helped run that one. So I stood at the top of the driveway of Riverbend, which is the hardest climb up the hill, and pretty much everyone who came up that hill was walking, unless you'd been running with Run Collective or the Red Deer runners, and you could tell the people who hadn't been training.
Yeah. And it's
So that,
from an injury risk standpoint, because I have this discussion with people all the time in the spring, you know, because a lot of races happen either in the spring or the fall, right? So you get the spring, and if you're going for something long for you, like say you've never done a 10 or a half or a full, and you're trying to up your game distance wise, what you
yeah,
often see is, you know, you barely do any running in December, January, and February because it's freezing and they don't get used to the outdoor running. And then come March, their volume just spikes and their body's just not ready for it. And then something starts hurting and they say, oh, well, it's my shoes, or do you know what I mean? It's not. It's because
yeah,
you're doing 3 times more running than you've done for the last 3 months. Sorry.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I did a couple of races a couple of years ago. I did like Vegas and Seattle and Montana Spartan races all before June. So starting in like March, I did one in each month. I traveled to
Mm.
those places. And then when Red Deer Spartan came around to Red Deer, I did really well. And everyone's like, oh,
Mm.
you're flying. And I was like, yeah, because we didn't stop like in winter. Like everyone else sort of takes a little bit to catch up. And yeah, I'm very thankful for Run Collective that they run through the winter, because it's definitely hard when it's cold.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's
And if it is really cold, like say -20 or more, what we do is we try to go to one of the indoor running tracks like RDC or the Penhold Multiplex, and it's
oh
like
yeah.
a $2 or $4 drop in or something. Like it's ridiculously cheap. So if the weather is predicting it's going to be really cold at night, we sort of try to throw it out there the day of and say, all right, we're going to cancel the outdoor run and meet at Red Deer College or the Penhold one,
Mm-hmm.
depending if anyone else is using the track that night. So yeah, I don't think there's ever been a Thursday night where Run Collective has not run at all. They sort of
Right.
try to move
Okay.
the group somewhere.
That
That was
is
really cool.
quite the you've set the bar there. We're not going to miss a week.
Yeah, I should
Yeah,
be
and I
careful
mean
what I say now.
with the indoor as well, it's like when you do it like that, you can go to the track at RDC or something, and you can have a really fun session. You know what I mean? Because there's a bunch of you there. You all sort of going around doing your intervals or whatever it is. You can race each other. Whereas indoor running on your own is so boring. Even on a track, as opposed
Yeah,
to a treadmill, it's still torturously boring.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, doing a track workout in the middle of winter is definitely different because you haven't done something as intense as running
Mm.
outside doing intervals. So it's quite nice. And the facilities at like Red Deer now at the Gary Harris building, it is so nice upstairs there.
Yes, I've been doing my weight training there just this last few weeks, and it's beautiful. It's awesome. It's like the best gym ever.
Yeah,
I wish they had a pool, which is very frustrating because I got into triathlon, but I mean, you can't have everything, right?
yeah.
Uh, I guess my last question was again for the newer runners. Um, Sports drinks, gels, salt tablets. Do we need any of that if we're going to come to a run club?
No, I don't think so. I don't think for if you were a newbie and you were doing a 3 or a 5K run, I don't think you need that. A lot of people on shorter runs wear like those waistbands with the little like 100, 200 ml bottles, and some people bring their phones and stuff, but definitely not. I don't think anyone needs a gel for a shorter run like that. If you are someone that does, yeah, by all means, bring it. Um, I do recommend using stuff like that in training runs before using them in races, because I know
Mm.
everyone's had that experience where they've tried something new on race day and hasn't agreed with their stomach or whatever.
Oh yeah,
So
that
yeah, I
is like
definitely,
my standard way of living is to do something different on race day, nutrition wise, that doesn't work and causes
yeah,
cramps or
yeah, I
something like
read
that.
all the time, like online people will be asking on forums or Facebook groups, like, say there's this new gel or product, they ask if it's good or not. And it doesn't matter if it's good for me or if it's good for you. Everyone's body takes on things differently and reacts to
Mm.
things differently. And
Yeah, definitely.
it's like any race, like pre-race, you'll see everyone lined up for the toilet, trying to get that like nervous energy out. And yeah, that's the number one. Don't do anything new on race day. So yeah, I think people don't need to bring them, but if they want to try them, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I think, like you said, it's not good if you're going to train for a race to do something new. So I can't remember where I read this idea of training your gut not long ago, and I was like, that is, I never do that. Do you know what I mean? I never rehearse what I'm going to do in a race properly. I've really tried to focus on it in the last year, but like you said, because everybody's so individual, you really have to experiment with lots of different things like gels and sports drinks, and I've started using chewies recently, like to try and find something that you can actually use. And I think training is, you got to do it then too, you know, even if you don't really need it. Um, but then the flip side of that is if you're not training for something, like say you're trying to lose weight, you know, and you go for a half hour run, if you're taking a gel or two, you're not really, that's not in line with what you're trying to achieve, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the sort of principle I try to go with if I think I'm going to be out in like say the mountains all day or like a longer race is like 100 calories every 45 minutes to an hour or something. I'm not a big drinker on long races. I don't drink a lot of water or Gatorade or electrolytes or anything, so I'm a little bit different to everyone else. But I think there is a little bit of a misunderstanding how far you can push your body before you need something like that, like before you need some sort of like aid, whether it's a
Hmm.
sip of water or a gel or whatever. So yeah, I don't think people need to load up on gels and stuff sort of for Run Collective night, but if you're going to try them, maybe for Run Collective, you want to try it before you start running and then sort of see half an hour later how you feel, if it sort of upsets your tummy or whatever.
And I
Because there's no
think
point taking it halfway through and then finishing.
yeah, there's I think run clubs as well are a good place to learn that stuff, you know what I mean? Because people try, like, oh no, try this one, you know, if you come, like I've had times in the past where you're running around for like an hour or two with people and you have to make conversation, right? So you talk about running because that's what you have in common. And I would
Yeah.
complain about these issues I've had with fueling, with cramping, with cramps, sorry, like stomach cramps with trying to eat and take gels and other such things. And you know, they'll give you a gel and they'll try it, or they'll say try this drink or try this electrolyte thing. And because so much of fueling is individual, you know, it's good to get suggestions from people, things that haven't worked for you or them or whatever, and then you can play around with things.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions I had. So that was really fun. Thank you for coming on. And
Yeah.
yeah, so just to sum up for anyone who's listening who happens to be local to Red Deer or surrounding areas, the name of your run club and where you guys meet and how we might be able to find you.
Yeah. So it's Red Deer Run Collective. We have a Facebook and an Instagram page. Each weekly run is Thursday, 6 p.m. And the runs are actually shown on Facebook as an event. So you can normally see one or two runs in advance where it's going to be. And then you can like click on the link to see like directions to it. And then on the Instagram page, we sort of post on our story the day of where the run will be, just a reminder if there's any special directions where to park or where to meet people. And then just recently, we've been actually showing the different options for the runs. So if you want to do like a 3K, we'll
Hmm?
post the route, and they're just suggested routes. Like they're not, we're not holding you to them if you want to cut it short or run a little longer. So the other night we did one from Sawback Brewery, and we had like a 3K option, a 5K, an 8.5K, and then a 12K. And we had all four routes shown. And then when we get to Run Collective, we sort of explain where the routes are going to go, which group leader will sort of take each group, and then we introduce ourselves, get an idea of who's going with each group. And yeah, as always, I think the best part about it is everyone's always smiling, even though you're running,
Hmm.
and sometimes it can get hard. It's very social, and the people who want to train hard, they can come and run fast. That's fine, but at the end of the day, it is a social run group, and the more people we get and smiles and stuff, the happier we are, because that's what we want. We want people to come and use us. We want to hold them accountable to keep their running going. And yeah, it's very
Yeah, I liked you.
satisfying when a lot
I
of
think
people
it
show
was
up.
you had put something up last week or something. It was like how Thursdays is becoming your favorite night of the week or something like that. And you had photos
Yep.
of you and the club, and it is. And I like the way you guys approach it with the social media. It's very encouraging, right? Because you know we're on social anyway, so people following you, you know, you might fall off for a couple of weeks if you're just getting into it, and you know you miss a couple of weeks because of work or something, but then you're on your Facebook or your Instagram and you see you guys, your posts from recent weeks, and you're like, and then you see the events coming up this week, and you're like, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get back on the wagon, kind of thing. So I think you guys do a
Yeah.
really good job with. It's not quite like promotion, but it's just like sharing your experience, kind of thing, and whereas I have seen other clubs in the past don't do as much of that. I think you guys do it really well, and I think it's very encouraging for people.
Yeah, and if you look at like the group photos, there is all different sorts of people, young, old, different body sizes, like people from different occupations to like whatever. It's a really mixed group of people. So of all the people I talk to outside a run club who say, I'm going to come, the hardest part is just showing up. Once you're there, you meet people, you're happy, it's easy. Like you just forget about the running when you're out there. But a lot of people struggle to take the step from saying you're going to go to then actually showing up. So yeah, everyone who's out there running is killing the people that aren't running. So they're doing awesome, especially in winter when it gets hard.
And so, like I said, I have only managed to make it once so far, but this is not due to, that's not my fault. It's work. But I hope to address that soon. The time I did go, I don't know if you noticed this, but remember we were in the Gary Harris building, and out the back you had to run loops. Can you remember?
Yep. Yep.
And you said, I hold, like you, hold the Strava thing, the crown or whatever. But if anyone wants to have a go at it. So I had a go at it, and I managed to equal your time. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
So that night, did you know you beat that time?
Yeah, I did. So I
Yeah.
don't like my data my data doesn't sync until I like get close to my phone. So I leave my phone in my vehicle or whatever. So until I got back there, I didn't actually know. But yeah, like even just small things like that, because there are some super competitive people out there, and one of my biggest things is the way to get the best out of someone is to challenge them, to get them out of their comfort zone. So you sort of see these guys who come down, they want to run fast and stuff. So I'm all down for setting challenges for people. Some people want to come just to get the run in, get the fresh air, and sort of get out of the house. Some people want to come down and take it serious. So I like to set a challenge every now and then for some of the guys who are keen on stuff like that. And yeah, I think the best way to sort of challenge them is to say, hey, I've got the fastest time here. Why can't you guys beat it?
Well, it's certainly for me, because I went that night and I was like, okay, I'm going to take it easy, even if they're doing like faster intervals, because I've been having a bit of trouble with foot pain. And it was a little sore that day. And I was like, I'll just take it easy, but I definitely want to go because I got out of work early and it was right there, like that night. And then as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, I'm going to have a go at that. And that's the only time I've ever got a segment on Strava. And I had it for about 10 minutes and then you took it back again.
Yeah. And now on Strava, if you hold a crown and someone beats it, they actually email you and they say, uh-oh, Matthew took your crown by so many minutes. So it's actually a little painful when you get that email now. You got to like feel like you got to go back out there and do it again or whatever.
Well, I think Strava know what they're doing when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, mate. Well, thank you for coming on. It was really fun. I will. I'll put this online, and yeah, I will. I'll hopefully see you soon when I sort out my shifts.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay. Take care, mate. See you later.
All right. See you, buddy.